I think we're on a path where all of the above are going to be involved. And that's one of the reasons we've got to work so hard on the norms and expectations in this international space. I think that governments are seeing the asymmetric value of doing some of these operations, but the most impactful seem to be the information operations, right? I don't think we'll see governments and nations doing things exclusively in the cyber domain. It's when you connect the physical, the kinetic, the information, the intelligence sides all together that things get really impactful.
So that's very interesting that you mentioned information operations, which has come to the fore in a big way in the last year, for instance. What are you in the Trump administration doing to prepare the government and the private sector to counter information operations, especially those that could be harmful to our democracy?
Certainly. I think the biggest thing we've got to do is we've got to build that ability to impose costs for people who are operating outside the norms. Right now, there's very little cost, and there's often big benefit for doing things in the information realm or the cyber realm. And so our focus has been figuring out how we can impose those costs. And the costs are whole of government things, whether it's diplomatic tools, whether it's judicial tools, subpoenas, arrests. The idea that we can use sanctions, that's a very powerful tool for the US government. There's cyber on cyber, but that's rarely the case where cyber solves cyber. Mm-hmm. And then there's even military options when things are really egregious threats.
Well, in fact, you just rattled off a long list of tools and options, and many of those the Obama administration has already used. They've deployed economic sanctions, they've indicted nation-state actors, they've kicked out Russian operatives. How are you and your strategy for the Trump administration going to go beyond what they did?
I think it's the focus, pace, and operational use of it. What we found is we've often in the past tried to get big groups together to go after the problems of the day, using the UN or even the UN Security Council. And what we found is the lowest common denominator in that group is usually unwilling to act. And so our focus is now looking at bilateral agreements where we can find a friend, a partner, someone willing to come along with us to push back and impose those costs. And then at that point, we can act and we'll bring a coalition along with us, but we're operating at the speed of the two most willing nations rather than the speed of a